What's going on, everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of Cold Takes from the Land, and today
Cold Takes from the Land, where you get the coldest takes from the hottest Cleveland sports fans.
got something a little different for you. I've been saying for like 86,425,805 years that we're gonna get a Cavs video out, and here we go.
Cavs!
We're talking about the Cavs. Yep, we're gonna talk about the Cavs today.
Could be the best team in Cleveland.
It could be. It is very much potential to be, especially with how disappointing the Guardians were and how we have no idea what the hell's going to happen with the Browns. But we ain't talking about them today. We're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. I just think of fucking Ernie when I say the name Cleveland Cavaliers. I just call them the Cavaliers, damn it.
Cleveland Cavaliers. That's funny.
But anyway, the Cleveland Cavaliers are coming off of a season that you want to, say was a success, but at the same time disappointing because of the way it ended. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
Yeah, the playoffs were... it was a weird series going into that because I think we all thought the Cavs were going to handle the Knicks fairly easily. I remember, I think you in specific, I was talking with you one day and you were like, yeah, I think it may be tough. The Knicks can possibly give us some matchup problems. And I was just coming into this series thinking we were going to absolutely wax them 4-1. But... it was definitely tough. They were more physical than we were. That center, Mitchell Robinson they have. Very physical. He kind of bullied on our young guys a bit there with Allen and Mobley. So it was an interesting series, to say the least. But I agree, very disappointing way to end the year after the way we kind of bounced back and had one of our best years since LeBron left.
No, yeah, for sure. I completely agree that obviously the regular season, everyone knows how it went. We acquired Donovan Mitchell. We got Karis LeVert. Obviously, we got Garland, Mobley coming into his second year, and then Jared Allen. Positive energy around the team. And then I felt through the regular season it was better than I expected because I personally kind of had us. If I would have put a number to it, I probably trying to think back to that time. I was thinking probably around 47 wins, and obviously we ended up being a 50-win team. We were the 4 seed in the East, and
yeah, the East was loaded last year. There were, I think, 4. We were the 4th 50-win team in the East, and there was only 2 in the West.
Yeah, for once it felt like the East was more dangerous than the West, which that could continue this year, but we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah. Even so, basically, the regular season was a success. Donovan Mitchell was awesome. You had some injuries here and there. The only real big problems was sometimes the lack of a true backup big to help out Mobley and Allen, and then also some issues on the wing, whether it was some defensive problems. Whereas when you try to put Okoro in there to solve those defensive problems, now you have zero shooting just because he's struggled so much as a shooter. And then you had obviously Karis LeVert, who apparently was playing most of last year injured, and he had kind of a down year. Still put up some points and had some good games. But yeah, he was kind of up and down. And then Cedi Osman was all over the place last year. You'd have a random game where he dropped 25 and hit 6 threes, and then he'd come out there and have a 0-0-0 game with a negative 14 plus minus. So that I think that was the only 2 real big concerns. And then obviously, like you said, you go into the Knicks series and get absolutely bodied, and I think that was kind of a wake-up call.
I think so too. Obviously, throughout the whole year, I think we finished, it looks like, number 1 in net defensive rating, which is awesome. But our ability to defend the perimeter is a problem with Mitchell and Garland. They're awesome on the offensive end, but they can't really do much on defense. So I'm hoping some of the guys we brought in this offseason will be able to contribute a bit there.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, my big thing going into the offseason was a guy that I kept saying over and over again. I really wanted Royce O'Neal. Now, obviously, that didn't happen. But we're going to get into our transactions we made over the offseason here in just a second. But my main thing is got to get some help on the wing. You got to get some defense. And I felt like an extra shooter or 2 would be nice just because of the inconsistencies LeVert was having from three-point range. And then, obviously, Cedi might have been the best three-point shooter of those 3 main small forwards we had out there, but he was god-awful just about everywhere else, so you couldn't really play him much. And then obviously Okoro, who's solid on the defensive end, but just can't shoot the ball. So at least for me going into it, and then
it was tough with Cedi out there. He was getting toasted.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as he was such a liability defensively. So my thing, as I just stated, based on our season last year, was help on the wing and like a legit backup big man that could just like not anything crazy, could play anywhere from like 12 to like 20 minutes a game of like genuine competent big man play. Because like I think our next best big man last year was like Robin Lopez because Dean Wade sucked. I know they put Lamar Stevens in there, even though he's kind of more of a small forward. They played him at power a couple times. He wasn't great. So that was my main things going into the offseason. I don't know how you felt about the roster going in.
I felt the same. Coming into the season last year, I actually felt a little better than I did once we actually started the season. I thought we were going to be pretty deep, and then it was pretty clear to me about 20 games in that our depth was going to be a major issue for us. We had about 5 guys that should not have been getting major playing time that come playoff time, Jetty Osman was getting absolutely bullied out there by Brunson. I mean, he gave up a couple huge buckets at the end of games 2 and 3. And just a couple outside of him. You touched on Lamar Stevens. Lopez didn't really play much in the playoffs at all, thankfully, but we just had like 5 guys. I think JB Bickerstaff thought our team was deeper than it was, and he was trying to utilize these guys that just weren't giving us anything on the offensive or defensive end.
Right, yeah, for sure. That I guess that is one extra concern I didn't mention is there were definitely times where JB didn't manage the game quite well, and he would kind of come up with some wacky lineups that just didn't seem like they made sense. But I'm hoping just with the experience of being the head coach of this team that improves.
Yeah, I think it will. I was going to say it'll only get better with time, I think. With our 3 position too, I'm not sure how familiar you've been over the last like decade or 15 years with the 3 spot outside of LeBron, but it's been pretty tough. I mean, obviously we had Jetty last year. Strus, I think, is going to try to play that a little bit this year, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they throw LeVert out there just because he's a good scoring option. But back in the day, we had old Alonzo G. We've had some absolute scrubs at that position outside of LeBron.
Who's the guy I'm thinking of with the cornrows? Jamario Moon or whatever, that dude?
Oh, God, yeah, I forgot about him. Those are the Boobie Gibson days.
Yeah, that guy always sticks in my head for some reason. Even though I know he was there for the LeBron years, I just when you tell me to name a random Cavs small forward, he's like the first dude that pops in my head. I don't know why.
Do you remember Anthony Parker?
Dude, that dude had a clip.
Yeah, he could shoot his ass off. We had some weird players back then. Like looking back, like a lot of those guys were absolute ass, but they only worked because they were alongside LeBron James.
Yeah, like Boobie Gibson, I don't think played anywhere else except for those like late 2000s Cavs.
He was terrible, man. Yeah, he could not do anything on any other team except ours. LeBron would just drive. I mean, he was so athletic. He could drive, collapse, and take 2 guys to the hole with him, and he could just kick to wide open guys like that.
For sure. Yeah, well, let's hope we're on to better days. Obviously, LeBron's not around, but I think we've built a pretty solid team. And getting into the offseason, the first big move we made on the first day of free agency was we re-signed Karis LeVert, and I was kind of back and forth on this. Like, he was so inconsistent.
I didn't even know we did that. I thought we had an option on him. We actually re-signed him?
Yes.
Okay. 2 years?
I'll tell you the contract. I'm bad.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was, I think 2 years. Yeah, 2 years, $32 million. So he's making about $16 million a year. Which honestly, now knowing that he played hurt most of last year and just knowing what he can do, like I'm not too mad at that contract, to be honest.
No, yeah, that's not bad. I mean, him and Garland were the 2 guys that actually showed up for us in the playoffs, so I'm not mad about that at all. Yep. Plus, isn't Strus making something ridiculous? Not like a 3-year, $45 million deal or something like that?
Yeah, that was the next guy I was going to get into. Probably our most well-known move is Max Strus, signing him from the Miami Heat after he had a very good last couple years with the Heat, especially in the playoffs. He was a big playoff performer for them, and what he brings to the team is just way better scoring in general. At least in that 3 position. Obviously, you can play LeVert at the 3, and like he can score. Probably a little bit more talented than Strus, but Strus is just such a good shooter. And we signed him to a 4-year, $62 million deal, which brings his average.
That pains my soul a little bit.
So that brings his average to about the same as what Karis LeVert's making. I don't know.
Right, over that extra year.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you're more negative on it than I am.
I mean, I think he'll be a good player. I just don't think what he's ever done in the NBA has warranted a contract like that.
Okay, that's fair. But,
I mean, if he ends up coming in and, like you said, providing some scoring pop at that 3 position, I think it'll be a big help. Because if Evan Mobley doesn't make that jump, like we were kind of talking about this last week off the air, but Mobley needs to make that jump to a 20-plus point per game scorer, and if he doesn't, Strus is going to have to come in and kind of average that out a little bit and throw some points on there.
For sure. I completely agree. And my thing with the Strus deal is the contract I actually really... it's just in today's NBA, everyone gets paid, so like it's kind of hard to look at contracts and be like, what? Unless it's like Timothy Mozgov's contract with the Lakers.
I'm not losing my mind about it either, just because everybody we have locked up already. Jared Allen's on a long-term deal. We re-signed Garland. Obviously, we traded for Mitchell right after he signed a max deal, so we really have the whole team locked up. If it wasn't that, like if we had a bunch of guys to sign still, I might be a little more upset about it, but at least everybody is contractually tied down for the next few seasons.
For sure. And then, so obviously with that deal, what he brings, obviously, like I said, is just better scoring at that wing position. He can come off the bench. You can start him. I have a feeling we're going to see a bit of a rotation. I'll get more specific into that later, but he just brings better three-point shooting. I kind of, to me, I feel like he's going to play a similar role they wanted Cedi Osman to play. I just feel like he's going to be a lot more consistent, not as erratic with the ball, make better decisions on the court, and just be a better consistent scorer, which I'm happy about. But obviously, like I said, I was worried too about the defense on the perimeter, specifically in that wing spot, obviously with the two smaller guards out there who aren't great defenders. Strus doesn't really bring that, and we didn't really sign anybody who does bring that, so that's still a bit of a hole I'm worried about.
Plus Rubio's taking time off, so I know he said I think he's taking the season off for like mental health reasons, so Rubio's not going to be around to kind of help pick up the slack as far as a backup point guard goes for Garland.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and with that, I'll move into who will probably be, I imagine, the most part, the backup point guard. Obviously, we're not really sure what's going on with Ricky Rubio, but we signed Ty Jerome, who spent some time with Golden State last year, and he's just kind of a solid scorer, not really a great passer. He's only played in limited time, but I mean, kind of when I look at their roster, I'm going to imagine LeVert is probably going to handle the ball a lot off the bench because of that, because I don't think you trust a guy like Ty Jerome as much, so the backup point guard spot for me is kind of a question mark, but we did sign him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Could be a problem, or maybe, LeVert handled the ball, like I said, in the playoffs quite a bit, so... But as far as throughout an 82-game season, I don't know if that's going to be a great option coming off the bench to have him as your primary decision maker.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. We maybe Ricky Rubio comes back sooner than we think, but we'll have to see. And then the last two signings I'll mention of note in the offseason were, three. I'm going to butcher this name, but from Philly, we
brought Shaquille O'Neal out of retirement, buddy.
Oh, yeah. How old is that dude now? Like 50-something? He'll hit some free throws.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
kidding.
There you go. We brought, I think his name's, I'm going to try and pronounce this, Georges Niang, from Philly, and he's kind of like a forward, undersized big man hybrid, kind of. Like he's 6'7", 230. He's kind of a thick boy. I don't know if you saw the picture I retweeted of him a few days back.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's kind of.
I did not. Let me check this though.
I posted, what was my caption? It was like, "This is peak male athleticism," or something like that.
Oh, I did see that actually. Was that him? I thought it was Strus you had posted.
No, that's Georges Niang. I'm pretty sure.
Good
and
Lord.
He's a chubby guy, so I kind of like get the sense he might play a little bit of power forward here and there. But he's just he's obviously a thicker guy. I don't know too much about him defensively. I feel like he's just kind of an average defender, but offensively he just brings a little bit more shooting. So he's a decent guy. And then of course we did trade for Damian Jones, who was a backup center in Utah. Nothing super significant with him. He's kind of played limited minutes in his career. But one I did want to mention, which was real late in the offseason, we brought back Tristan Thompson, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I heard about that, I think that's more for one of those like Odell Beckham moves at this point in his career. He's not going to contribute a ton, but it's a good guy to have in the locker room that's been around, won championships before, obviously, with us. He's went to the final 4 straight years when LeBron was here, so I think that's going to be a guy for leadership more than anything. I doubt he's probably going to be getting much playing time.
See, I feel a little differently, man. I don't know. I just get this feeling that we're going to see a little bit of, see him come off the bench, play like 12, 15 minutes a game as a backup center. He's still great.
I hope not. He's washed, brother.
Dude, he's still a great offensive rebounder. He can bring a little bit of energy. I'm just not a big Damian Jones guy, and I'm just trying to be positive because outside of that, I mean, I doubt you're going to play Amani Bates this early. Or Isaiah Mobley.
I'm worried again about our bench. I'm going to be honest with you, buddy. I think most of these guys are going to be scrubs.
Yeah, as you can see, if you can tell by the way we're talking, the bench is still very much a question. I feel better about the wings at least starting and having a little bit more scoring depth, but yeah, the bench in general is going to be a bit concerning. As I said, I'm kind of being hopeful for Tristan Thompson because I don't want to see Dean Wade. I don't want to see Isaiah Mobley. I just think Mobley's not ready probably yet to play that many minutes, at least significantly off the bench. Amani Bates, I think, has a lot of potential, but he's still got to fill out his body, and he's still a rookie, so I don't know how much he's really going to play. But I'm gonna come back.
The good thing with Tristan too is he is physical, so he's a guy that's gonna help if we get into a series against like we did the Knicks again last year. So that's a guy that can get down there. He can bang with the big guys and get some rebounds, like you said.
No, for sure. But I mean, I'm just being hopeful.
For sure.
One thing, I'm just gonna keep coming back to it. You know who would be really nice off this bench, buddy?
LeBron James.
Well, wouldn't that be nice? No, but
wouldn't it be nice?
But wouldn't it be nice to have Kevin Love on this roster?
Yeah, yes and no. I'm over the Kevin Love thing. I think he's kind of getting to that like Tristan Thompson point where it's like he can't contribute too much anymore.
I don't know, man. He contributed a bit for the Heat towards the end of the regular season, and obviously depending on the series.
A little bit. I mean, he sat so much too, so it's easy to kind of get your feet under you when you have fresh feet about you. He didn't play for us, like basically. How many games did he play? Let me check here.
Not many.
There's only a handful he played for us last year, and he was hurt and sitting out, and then he wanted the trade request, so it's kind of easy to come in when you're that old. He's 35 now, correct?
I believe so. He's in his mid-30s.
Yeah, it's hard for a guy like that. It's much easier when you have half a season of rest to come in and contribute and throw up some three-pointers in a playoff series when you haven't really played much.
I guess my main point with that is it would just be nice to have just a decent big man off this bench. I'm more worried about that, honestly, than I am backup guard, just because, you know, it...
Well, Allen, that's another reason, too. That was why it was nice having Love for the last couple seasons, because Jared Allen is not really an offensive threat at all. If he's scoring, it's either dunks or putbacks for the most part, so he doesn't have any post moves typically. He doesn't really have any kind of a jump shot, not a great free throw shooter, so having a guy like that when he could hit threes was a big help.
Right, for sure. This is just a team that, I still kind of feel, even though we made a lot of improvements specifically at small forward, with hanging on to Karis LeVert so he can play that three position off the bench. He can play the one, he can play the two and even the one if he wanted to.
I think he's going to play a lot of three this year.
Yeah, and then even, you bring in Max Strus, who's a great shooter. I feel like we're in the same spot as we were last year, where it's like, okay, backup guard's kind of an issue. Okay, backup big man's a little bit of an issue. Like, who's really going to go out there when Mobley and Allen aren't out there? And, what are you going to do if you get another Knicks series where Allen's getting, out physicaled and you have no one else to turn to? Obviously, unless, like I kind of joked, that Tristan Thompson could come in and look like his 2016 self. But,
I don't think he has to be that, obviously. I mean, with those other two guys, Mobley and Allen are so great defensively, you can kind of plug Double T in there anywhere and kind of get him some rebounds and just have him do his thing. He doesn't have to be defensively dominant like he was in years past for us.
Yeah, I don't know, but, I mean, that's kind of just my thoughts.
I think that was kind of our eye-opening experience last season, too, because I did not expect to get bullied like that against New York. I mean, it was a pretty rough series.
Yeah, it seemed like, and especially with Allen making his comments about, saying that the lights were a bit too bright, like when he's that honest and brutal about it, like, definitely shows maybe it got into his head a bit, without another option outside of Mobley and Allen. Obviously, Mobley's a young player. And so he's still kind of figuring it out. And then Allen, who you thought was the
And Mobley
vet.
did okay. It's really Allen and Mitchell that kind of didn't come through for us. Mitchell had his worst playoff series to date in any uniform. And then Allen just couldn't really do anything, wasn't getting many rebounds, wasn't great on defense like he had been all year. So I think at the end of the year, Allen, everybody was kind of poo-pooing on Jared Allen. So I think this is going to be a really important bounce-back season for him.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I think Allen's definitely going to have the most eyes in terms of, performance down the stretch. I'm not too worried about Mitchell just because,
Oh, I'm not either. I mean, like I said, great scorers are going to score, so I doubt he'll have another series like that.
Yeah, so I think kind of just depends on how some things go. Hopefully some guys overperform. I think the big things I'm looking for, honestly, the one big thing I'm looking for from a roster standpoint is, you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, is this. I feel like this has got to be the year where Evan Mobley really makes that jump into being a dominant, around kind of 20 and 10 type guy this year.
Yeah. Mobley is going to be the X factor for us for sure, because you know what you're going to get scoring-wise out of Mitchell. He's going to be 25 to 30 points a game. Garland's going to be around 20 to 25 a game. So if Mobley can make that jump from 16 to 20, 21 a game, that would be huge for us.
Right, for sure. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about this roster?
No, man. I kind of feel the same you do. I feel a little bit better about this year's roster than I did last year's, but I still think we're going to have some depth issues. The bench I don't think is going to be great. I wouldn't even be surprised maybe halfway through the season to see Imani Bates on the roster a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely an interesting kid. I think he's got a lot of talent. But with that, I mean, I'm kind of through with my thoughts too on how I feel about the team in the offseason. Obviously, we kind of said our issues. Wing is definitely improved, but backup, guards off the bench, big men off the bench.
Put me out there, buddy. I could play the 3. I mean, 5'11", almost 6 foot. I think I could play the 3.
You know what, buddy? You should call up the Cavs. I think they'll really dig that offer.
I don't even think I should call them. I think I should just show up and they'll see me shooting the lights out.
I definitely agree. You should record that.
I'm in better shape than that Yang kid,
Right. Oh God. But with that, let's give our record predictions. How do you think? Final thoughts. How do you think the season's gonna go?
So, as I previously told you, I think our record this season is going to be 52-30. So I think we're going to be a game better than we were last year. But seeding-wise, I think it'll be around the same. I think we're going to finish either the 3 seed or the 4 seed. I'll be a little optimistic there. I think we'll get the 3 seed. I think we'll probably be behind Boston because they've made some great moves this offseason. And then I think Milwaukee's going to be tough, being a divisional opponent. I think they're going to be 1 or 2. So I'm going to say 3 seed and 52-30 will be our record this season.
Okay. You expecting a deep playoff run, or how do you think that will go?
No, I'm not. Boston, I think, got 2 guys. I mean, honestly, the move they made a couple weeks ago, getting Drew Holiday, is huge for them. They already had a great defensive team with Tatum and Brown. They added Porzingis in the offseason, who's another scoring option. They're going to be really tough. And the even bigger thing, which I just touched on, the team in our division, Milwaukee, they added Damian Lillard. So that's going to be a problem. And they were already one of the best defensive teams with Brook Lopez and Giannis for making all-pro, or not all-pro, but first-team all-defensive. So that's going to be a tough team. They might have some depth issues, kind of like us, because I don't think their bench is going to be as good. But I think Drew Holiday is huge for the Celtics on an already stacked defensive team. And they have the scoring with him. He adds another 15 to 18 points a game in the playoffs. So I think it's going to be tough getting past those teams. I say we win maybe 1 series and then probably get clapped pretty easy in the second round.
Yep. Yeah, I'm kind of similar in line. For me, I'm actually thinking in terms of regular season total, I actually think we regress slightly. I'm saying 49 and 33.
Fuck you.
Listen. Let me defend my point.
I'll hear you out.
I'm saying 49 and 33. I just think maybe early on, with the issues with the depth and getting a couple of the new guys incorporated in the offense. I think there could be a couple games where the offense kind of butts heads a bit, between some players and touches, and how the lineups work. And obviously, JB has had some issues with the lineups, so I feel like some of that stuff might still trickle in early in the year. We might lose some games we shouldn't have, but I think in the second half of the season we're going to kind of pick it up a bit, go on a nice little run where we've got things figured out, have fluent lineups. I'm hoping Ricky Rubio returns just to get that experience in there, but obviously can't guarantee that. But I think we'll have a strong finish to the year. Finish 49-33. I'll say we hit the 4 seed again. I'm thinking actually Boston gets the 1 seed there, just because even though Milwaukee has Damian Lillard, I just think the Celtics, this might be their most complete team they've ever put on a court. Obviously, the loss of Marcus Smart sucks, but Drew Holiday is essentially an upgraded version of that on every level. Aside from
they're going to be a problem in the East for sure.
Yes.
He's got that length and he can score the ball better than Marcus Smart ever could. So they're going to be a problem all year for us.
Yeah, only thing he doesn't really have is like the physicality that Smart had, but I'm not too worried about that. He's great on defense. He can score.
Hey, we don't have any of that, buddy. Outside of Mobley.
Well, yeah, we'll see how Allen rebounds, but. No, yeah.
Soft as cottonelle tissue, boy.
I got some cottonelle tissues right next to me here. I got a bunch of Jared Allens. No, I'm just kidding. But
we're gonna go to a game and just have a box of tissues. This is what you are, cottonelle tissue. Just start throwing them up in the air.
We'd probably get kicked out, but yeah, if we'll do that, we'll have to vlog it. But to finish my point, I think the Celtics will be 1. I just think they're going to be a better team. Milwaukee, I'm thinking it'll be 2. And then I don't know. Philly's just still really good. Even with the issues with Harden, I feel like if they trade him, they're going to get a decent enough return. And, with Embiid, who, is an MVP conversation every year, and they have a solid team around him.
I hate that fat bastard. I hope he retires.
Well, fair enough. And then, so I feel like they might still get over us, and just barely by a hair, just because of the consistency. And like I said, I think we might falter a bit early. So yeah,
I hope not. I'll cry if we're behind Philly.
Well, hey, the playoffs is what matters. And as I get into that, I'm thinking 4 seed in the playoffs with 49 wins. I do think I'm gonna make a little prediction here, a little storyline to this. I think we rematch the Knicks in the first round, and we beat them in 6 games. Mark my words here. We beat them in 6 games, and then we go into the second round series, and we get Boston, the number 1 seed. And I think we're gonna go play them, and we're gonna be scrappy and fight. We've always had I don't know. I just kind of feel like we have an interesting matchup against them. I feel like we're going to be scrappy. I think we're going to pick up an extra game that maybe we shouldn't have. I genuinely feel like we could push that series to 7, but I'm not going to favor us to beat Boston. If I would make a hard prediction,
we got a puncher's chance, man. We got 2 guys that can go out there and score 40 on any given night, and if Mobley develops the way we want him to, we definitely have a puncher's chance, man. I think we have a chance against almost anybody.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, even though with the same issues we had last year, I feel like with Mobley with improvement, Jared Allen rebounding, Mitchell having a better offseason, and then just more consistency in terms of just shooting off the bench in the playoffs will matter, and I just feel like that'll get us... Playoffs? Got to win a game.
We got to win 1 game first.
Yeah, that is true, buddy, and we'll hopefully win that tomorrow night when we open the season. But yeah, that's my prediction. 49 wins. I think we'll be a lot better in the playoffs. Even though I predict a second round exit, I think it'll be a lot more formidable and respectable, and there'll be a lot of optimism going into the next season.
Okay, I respect that. So, do you want to give quick predictions for finals, real quick? Who you think's going to be in it, and who you think will win?
All right, finals predictions. You heard it here first. You ready? You ready for this, buddy?
Let's do it. Yep, I'm ready to hear it.
We're going to get the upteenth whatever edition of Celtics-Lakers, and Lakers in 7. LeBron wins his 5th championship.
Oh, you're out of your mind. I love LeBron to death, but I don't think there's any mountain high enough to Lakers to make in the finals. I am going to go Nuggets out of the West. Yes, I said that right. I almost fucking said East. Nuggets out of the West, and I think the Bucks are going to come out of the East. I think the Bucks will beat them in 7.
Okay, so another ring.
That'll be a hell of a series, though.
Another ring for Giannis. Okay.
Bucks, Nuggets.
I like it. I like that we differ. We're going to look back on this in the finals and be like, wow, we were both wrong. I'm just kidding. Hopefully not.
Probably. Watch it be Warriors, Cavs. We'll run it back for the 6th time.
That'd be real something. You got anything else you want to add before we get on out of here, buddy?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything pretty well there. Cavs, I think we'll have a good season as we touched on. Hopefully we make those changes necessary to keep progressing. But I'm really kind of anxious now to get the season started tomorrow and see what we end up doing. If we end up going 4 seed again and getting matched up with the Knicks, that'd be a pretty cool playoff series. So,
Yep. Yeah, that would be sweet. But yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, still some worries and issues with the team, but I have some general optimism. I just think we're going to see general improvement. I don't think you'll see it in the record, as I said. I would not be surprised if we regressed in the regular season win total, but I think it's really going to show in the playoffs. And I'm really excited to get the basketball season going. And with that, we appreciate you guys for listening. And like I said, with the Cavs coming in now, we're going to have a little bit of change up in the content. We'll have some Cavs videos. We're going to try and get at least a video every week with them, obviously, because there's so many games. But try and get a little weekly recap going every week, and obviously we'll touch on the big things when they happen. And then obviously we'll have a Guardians video that we're working so tirelessly on coming up here soon with the World Series coming up. Got to get our thoughts on the guards.
Yes, we do. Tentative plans, I believe, as of right now, are Friday for that to come out. So first day of the World Series, look for that guards video possibly on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
go Guards, baby.
Yeah. But once again, we appreciate you guys for watching. And it's been another episode of Cold Takes from the Land. And we will see you with that Browns preview in the next one.
Cold Takes from the Land.